In Jaipur's old quarters, where pink sandstone buildings lean on each other like weary old men, there's a tradition few outsiders ever hear about. They call her the Mehndi Reader. My name is Priya, a software engineer from Mumbai, and I never believed in superstition until what happened 3 months ago. It began during my cousin Anjali's wedding. The Mehndi ceremony was in full swing, laughter, singing. Women gathered as artists painted intricate henna designs on their hands. Anjali had hired 3 artists, 2 young women with portfolios full of modern, Instagram-ready patterns, and 1 elderly woman who arrived late. She was startlingly old, her face a map of wrinkles, her hands bent and gnarled. She wore a plain white sari, unusual for a celebration. Her cataract-clouded eyes made me wonder how she could see it all. Who invited her? I whispered to my aunt. My aunt's face went pale. I didn't. I thought Anjali's mother did. But when we asked, no one had invited her. She had simply appeared. The old woman shuffled to the center of the room and sat down on the floor. Her voice, when she spoke, was surprisingly strong. "I am the Mehndi Reader," she announced. "I do not paint mere designs. I paint your future. But be warned, once I begin, the design cannot be changed. What I see, I must draw. What I draw must come to pass." The room had gone silent. Some of the older women were backing away, whispering prayers. But Anjali's younger sister, Meera, laughed. "That's just superstition, Nani ji," she said. "It's just henna." The old woman's clouded eyes fixed on Meera. "Then you will be my first customer tonight. Come, child. Let me paint your future." "I don't know why," Meera agreed. Maybe it was pride, not wanting to seem afraid in front of everyone. Maybe it was the skepticism of youth. She sat down in front of the old woman and extended her hands. The Mehndi Reader didn't use a cone like normal artists. She dipped her twisted fingers directly into a small brass bowl of henna paste and began to draw. Her movements were impossibly fluid for someone her age, and despite her clouded eyes, she never once looked down at Meera's hands. She stared straight ahead, into nothing, while her fingers created patterns that seemed to writhe and shift in the lamplight. The design she drew was beautiful and wrong. Not flowers or paisleys, but a house, a staircase, a door, a mirror, and at the center, a figure with impossible proportions. "Your future, child," she said. "3 days from now, you will climb the stairs at midnight. Open your door, look in the mirror, and see what you truly are." Most women avoided her, but I sat down. She traced my apartment in Mumbai, a date, a phone, and inside the screen, my face screaming. At my palm center, a mirror empty. "Your future," she whispered. "You will receive a message. You will see yourself. You will understand you have been alone for a long time." Before I could reply, chaos erupted. Anjali's grandmother had collapsed. When we searched, the Mehndi Reader had vanished. Guards swore no one had left. She was gone. The wedding proceeded as planned. Meera's Mehndi faded normally, and she laughed about the crazy old woman and her predictions. I flew back to Mumbai the day after the wedding, and within a week, the whole thing had become just an amusing story to tell at parties. Then, 3 days after the wedding, exactly as the old woman had predicted, Meera's parents called my aunt, screaming and sobbing. Meera had woken up at midnight. She didn't know why, but she felt compelled to leave her bed. She'd climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor of their house. She'd opened the door to her room, and she'd looked in the mirror. When her mother found her the next morning, Meera was standing in front of the mirror, completely still. She was alive, breathing, but she wouldn't move. She wouldn't speak. Her eyes were open, but she didn't see anything. The doctors called it a catatonic state, no medical explanation. She just stood there, staring at her own reflection. But here's what her mother told my aunt, and what my aunt told me in a hushed, frightened voice. When they tried to pull Meera away from the mirror, she became violent, screaming and thrashing. And in that moment, her mother said Meera's reflection in the mirror didn't match her movements. The reflection was smiling while Meera screamed. The reflection was still while Meera fought. The reflection had become something else. I tried to rationalize it. Stress, psychological breakdown, coincidence. But my hands had started to itch. The Mehndi had faded, as it should, but I could still feel the patterns on my skin, like they'd been burned into me rather than drawn. I checked the design the old woman had painted, the date she'd drawn. I did the calculation. It was today's date, 1 month from the wedding. I told myself it meant nothing. I went to work, came home, made dinner with Kavya. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. Except I'd started to notice small things, like how Kavya never seemed to eat. I'd cook, serve her food, and later her plate would be empty. But I never actually saw her eating, like how she never used the bathroom, like how she always stood slightly behind me, just out of my direct line of sight. That night, lying in bed, I tried to remember the last time Kavya had touched something, the last time she'd left the apartment, the last time someone else had spoken to her. I couldn't. At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. A video message from an unknown number. My hands were shaking as I opened it. It was security camera footage from the lobby of our apartment building, date stamped 1 month ago, the night I'd returned from Jaipur. I watched myself enter the building, dragging my suitcase. I watched myself get into the elevator. I was alone, but that couldn't be right. Kavya had met me in the lobby. We'd ridden up together. We talked about the wedding. I remembered it clearly, didn't I? I heard a sound from the living room. Footsteps. I crept out of bed and peered through the crack in my door. Kavya was standing in the center of the room, completely motionless, just standing there, facing the wall. I watched for 5 minutes. She didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood. I've been trying to remember when Kavya moved in. The memories are there, but they're slippery, like trying to grab smoke. I can see her face, hear her voice, but the details don't line up. The timeline doesn't make sense. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my photos. Hundreds of selfies, pictures from restaurants, tourist spots, parties. In every single photo, I was alone, but I remembered taking them with Kavya. I remembered her standing next to me, laughing, making faces at the camera. The memories were so vivid, so real. I checked my text messages, long conversations with someone saved as Kavya roommate. But the responses were strange now that I really looked at them. They never referenced specific events. They were always just agreeable, generic. I looked up at the mirror across from my bed. In the reflection, I could see the living room through the open door. Kavya was still standing there, facing the wall. Then she turned around. Her face was my face. I don't know how long I've been looking at this mirror. It feels like hours, or maybe just seconds. Time is strange now. The woman in the living room who wears Kavya's face is still there. She's waiting for me to come out. She's patient. I understand now what the old woman meant. I've been alone for a very long time, maybe years, maybe forever. Whatever is in my apartment, it's been with me so long that it's become part of my memories, woven itself into my past. It feeds on loneliness, grows stronger the more isolated you become. And the worst part, I'm starting to forget what real human interaction feels like. The thing pretending to be Kavya is becoming more real to me than actual people. When I try to remember my family, their faces are blurry. When I try to remember my colleagues at work, I can't picture them clearly. But Kavya, I can see her perfectly, every detail, because she's been changing me, bit by bit, making me more like her, more like nothing, more like an empty reflection. I should call someone, the police, my parents, anyone. But when I look at my phone, I can't remember any numbers, can't remember any names. There's just that video message, playing on loop, me entering the building, alone. Always alone. The Mehndi patterns are burning on my palms now. I can see them glowing faintly in the dark, even though the henna washed away weeks ago. The mirror pulses like a heartbeat. I hear her moving in the living room, humming Anjali's wedding song. She knows I can hear her. The old woman said I'd see myself and understand I'd been alone. Now I do, but what's here isn't me. My bedroom door opens. A shadow fills the doorway. I freeze. The mirror catches my reflection, then it's gone. 3 days later, my apartment is empty. My phone plays security footage on loop. Mirrors are shattered. but in the fragments, something watches. The Mehndi reader's prediction came true, just not in the way I expected.